Hi, I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford. I'm here with Bryan Ribeiro, aka DJ Fresco, one of, if not the biggest DJ in New Bedford, and we're here to talk a little bit about his life, how he got started, and his ideas for the future.
How you doing?
Good, Fresco.
Thanks for having me.
No, yeah, glad to have you. So, before we even get started, let's go into where you got your name. But first, tell the people a little bit about where you're from.
So I am born and raised New Bedford.
Yep.
I am first generation born, parents of Cape Verdean immigrants.
Okay.
Who got settled here in the 80s and early 90s. Born and raised New Bedford, been here since 30 plus years.
Sure.
Here.
And you always went to school here?
Yep. Parker School. Well, first I was at Hayden McFadden.
Sure.
When we moved, I went to Parker School, Keith Middle School, New Bedford High School, class of 2010.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so did you end up going to college after that, or?
Yeah, so I'd actually, I went to Providence, to Johnson and Wales for a year.
Cool.
And I stayed there, but then ended up coming back after that first year.
Sure.
And I finished up my associates at Bristol Community College right here in New Bedford too.
Yeah, I'm at BCC right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get my associates at the end of spring. So where did you first start DJing, and how so?
Okay, so DJing really came about in a couple of different ways.
Okay.
It eventually came full circle to where I'm at now, but when I look back, it was kind of always there, the music aspect, right? I think coming from, again, Cape Verdean, like 100% like cultural background, and one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing about Cape Verdean culture, and most important to the culture, is the music, right? There's always something that involves music.
Sure.
So that was kind of always there, from, as long as I can remember, being young, there was something about music that really, like, I gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
There was, I didn't know what it was, but it was there. I didn't really know what or how to, like, explain it, I guess. But when I look back, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I feel like I was just meant to do. But yeah, just, influence from the Cape Verdean culture, and I was big, like, at a young age. Of course, my parents are immigrants, so I was big and familiar with, like, the Cape Verdean music, right? From all different kind of styles, but also eventually, as I got a little bit older, the pop, the hip hop, definitely hip hop had a huge, influence on me. But literally, I was the kid in middle school that made the burnt CDs of different mixes of songs for my friends, and so I was the kid to go to because, I had the music, whether it was legal or illegal, you know what I mean? The LimeWire days, but I look back to that, and it kind of comes full circle. But yeah, fast forward to, high school and the college days, where I ended up, just kind of being the person to go to play music at, like, the family parties. You know what I mean? Then it was like a couple of house parties here and there.
Okay. And was that from personal interest, and, like, you brought that up, or were people asking you to go do that?
People would ask me.
Yeah.
They just assumed, like, because I had all the music, like, I could do it. However, we needed to figure out how to get the equipment, we'd make it work, and, I would do it. So yeah, just looking back at, those, and that wasn't really, like, DJing wasn't, and when I say it, like, it came in different ways here at different times of my life, like, that wasn't a focus at all, or even a hobby at the time. Like, at that age, I was really focused on music, and, like, a whole different part of that music influence story was.
And so we can get back to the DJing, but as far as for when you're younger and the Cape Verdean influence, when it comes to Cape Verdean music, does that have a specific genre or name? Like, is it Afrobeats, or is it?
Well, so there's different styles within Cape Verdean music itself. It's very influenced by African music in general, right? The drums and all those different instruments and stuff. But there's, like, fast pace, which there's a couple different styles of that. Funana, Kuduru, and then there's, like, the slower, more mellow, with the Kizomba, or even Zouk, which tie in, and we can talk about this stuff all day, but like, Zouk is, like, a very similar, well, it's pretty much the same style as, like Haitian people and, like, the French Creole, you know what I mean? It's all it's all similar. I mean, I can't tell you where it started or how it started, but like being exposed to that at a young age, and then eventually like now kind of looking back, doing my research on it, like, and especially nowadays with how popular Afrobeats is, it's funny because when that happened, I'm like,
there's no audience for it, kind of thing.
Not just that, but I'm like, this is new to y'all, but I've been listening to this my whole life, this style of music. Yeah. So which helped me too, like when Afrobeats became a pop thing and it kind of, you know, came into the mainstream in the U.S., I was like, great, this is just another added bonus to
you already had a whole
arsenal.
Repertoire in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you're influenced by Cape Verdean music and the styles, but how big of an influence did your parents play into that? Are either your parents musicians?
My dad is not an official musician, but he played the guitar. He played a little bit in a band too when I was like really small, but my mom kind of shut that down quickly when I was born and my sister was born because, you know, that lifestyle wasn't really ideal for someone with kids. But so it's funny in a way. I kind of am somewhat fulfilling his dream, I guess.
No, that's cool. That's super cool.
But yeah, so definitely a huge influence there, you know, and music was just always around, like I said, in that culture. You know, every weekend there's a family party or something like that.
Yeah.
Just in the car, just, you know, listening to music, or even like the CD collections that they would have. And I just eventually just kind of took all that, you know.
And so did you have a favorite artist growing up?
Oh, so many. But especially, you know, it's funny, when I really can, as far as like my first memory of really loving music, it was the pop stuff, like the late 90s boy band era.
Okay.
I was the biggest fan of Britney Spears.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And another thing another way where it just comes full circle to what I do now is like I was heavily influenced by like everything. Like, even though it was like Cape Verdean, my background, but like I liked the pop music, and then, you know, watching MTV, VH1 every day. Yeah. Being exposed to all this different kinds of style of music, and then eventually obviously hip hop by the time I was like preteen, that kind of took over obviously. Yeah. But favorite artists, again, like my first memory of music was like those pop artists, NSYNC, the Britney Spears, but at a young age, I would say probably, you know, Ludacris. For sure, which I always like. I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves. But
so underrated.
Luda, you know, at that time was Ludacris, the 50 Cent. 50 Cent's album was the first rap album I ever bought.
Got you.
And that kind of really like spearheaded that whole, you know, loving the hip hop thing. But yeah, just to name a few, that kind of era.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. So now getting back to when you're doing the house parties, you know, kind of like amateur DJing. So are you getting paid for it?
Man, that's a good question. Probably not.
Doing it for the love of the game.
Probably not.
Especially because you're just doing it with friends and family.
Yeah, and even that, like, even, you know, in my earlier years, but like I was older, like the college years, like one of my first like gigs in front of like random people was, ironically, a house party in Providence. I won't name specifically where, but if you've been in that scene at all, in the college scene, there's a specific area or street, I should say, I'm not gonna name the street name, where like where all the college kids lived, right? They had their apartments. And you know, again, 1 year there, I was a freshman, but you know, I knew some of the upperclassmen, but they knew like I was like the music. And this is also, just to give you a little context, this is blog era, right? 2010, 2011. And I'm up on all the blogs every night, every day. Just getting all the new music. Some of the upperclassmen were like, yeah, we're throwing a house party. You know, you want to just DJ? We have like some speakers there, you can just plug it in. I'm talking about like aux directly into the laptop. I have the program, but I'm just like using my computer to, you know what I mean? And even that, you know, definitely didn't get paid. Probably got some like free drinks or something, but that was about it, you know.
Okay. And so then you're in college. And what's the next step for you? Then how do you?
Well, so at the time, even being in Providence for the first year of school, like I was coming back home every weekend to work. I had a couple little, you know, side jobs, just because that was my main focus. I wanted to, like, the college student kind of like life. I wasn't trying to live. I was just trying to get ahead. Eventually, when I moved back home, I started working in banking. So I was in banking for years, which a lot of people don't know. Some people do. People who know me closely know, but I was in banking for years, like up until about recently, a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So that's where I was at. I figured, you know, I eventually when music and DJing was like, it was going good, but it was kind of like a side thing. That was like my backup plan. Like I always had, at least I would know I had an opportunity, you know, in this industry, like for a career.
What did you go to college for?
Just general business, business and finance, a little bit of accounting.
Sure.
But I'll be honest, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. The only thing I could possibly see myself, again, I was already in the banking industry. I'm like, all right, maybe I could just kind of slowly move up to a decent position at a bank, but what I will say is it's definitely not where my heart was at. You know?
Yeah.
It was a job, you know.
And okay, so you went to college for business, but didn't really have a specific focus, but your love was always for music.
Always. Whether I recognized it or I didn't, or I knew why or what it was, but it was there. And it slowly, like as the years went on, just got more and more. And I felt, you know, it's tough because, especially for anyone with immigrant parents, would understand the pressure of, all right, you got to go to school, you got to finish school, you got to get a good job, you got to get your degree. You don't want to let your parents down.
Was that pressure on you from your parents?
Yeah, always. But you know, but that's not to say like I was good. Like I had great grades in school. Like I did well in school throughout most of those years. But it was really like that. It was that first year of college, honestly, that really like where it hit me. Like, I don't think I want to do this. Like, there's something like I as much as I want to succeed and be, you know, do good in school. Like, there's something in me that was telling me like this isn't. I don't think this is what I want to be doing.
Sure.
You know.
So at that time, did you see yourself being a DJ, or did you know any successful DJs? Did you think that that could be a career for you?
That was not like something I would say was like not even a thought in my head that you could DJ at a certain level unless like you were a famous DJ or something.
Sure.
Like for me to even like, it wasn't really until recently where, you know, obviously where I'm at now, but like to think or look at DJing as a profession, like, yeah, no. Like I remember at a certain point, which I think we'll probably get to, but you know, pandemics really what changed everything. But at a certain point, it was like I would hear that in a sentence, because you know, eventually I really got, you know, to start building my name and kind of getting out there, right? And that started coming up in like conversations, like DJing full time, and I'm like, you know, never really. It wasn't something that was like feasible. Like I felt like.
And like you said, you were still working a regular job, you know, this whole time.
Yeah.
And so you always had somewhat of a backup plan up until recently. Now is DJing your full-time gig?
Full-time.
Yep.
Just kind of the typical entrepreneur, you know, finding little different ways to start, you know, businesses and yeah, like made it happen. It was scary. It wasn't easy. It still isn't easy. It's still an adjustment because it's only been about 2+ years now, a little under 3 years.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that you have to learn. Some things you learn along the way. You know, they don't teach you a lot in school. You know, you know what you need to know in the real world. You kind of have to figure it out on your own, or you know, nowadays obviously there's a lot of resources.
So as far as for equipment, was that just out of pocket? Where did that come from?
Yeah. That's probably one of the toughest things about this industry and this profession is how expensive the equipment is.
I bet.
Right. But there's ways for me when I first really started taking DJ serious. You know, there's more now, but there's websites out there where you can kind of finance equipment, right? So essentially, yeah, it was coming out of pocket. You know, it's funny, you watch all these like inspirational videos on YouTube and stuff, where you see, you know, people who are motivational speakers and entrepreneurs and stuff, and they talk about how you utilize your main job to invest into your dream.
Sure.
And that's essentially what I did.
Yeah.
You know, that income was helping me fund, you know, getting investment in, because equipment is expensive, but it is an investment because eventually you make it back, right? So yeah, definitely all out of pocket.
And all of this motivation is purely coming from you, or would you say you had a mentor or someone else like pushing you or helping you along the way?
So it really depends. At first, again, it was when I first started taking DJing serious. Again, it was kind of here and there. It was always there, and I would do it. But a little bit after those first college years, there's a little gap in time there between then and now, right? But I was really, again, into music, but not like, I was more focused on like writing, recording music, being in a group with one of my, you know, close friends from high school, putting out music and performing. A lot of people forgot about that era of me, especially because like DJing has been the thing, you know, for the past like almost 10 years now. But it was honestly a friend of mine who also went to high school with me, who was already DJing, and he was kind of in like the nightlife scene in Providence, and he actually came to one of those shows where we were performing. The way we did those shows too, where we kind of incorporated the party element, even though it was a performance, we would have like increments of like performances, and then there'd be like intermissions where we would just have like play music.
Sure.
And technically, you know, we were DJing, so we were playing the music. You know, one night he was just like, man, you should really just look into this and try it because you could make some money doing it.
Sure.
Slowly started getting that equipment and started out small, and it just snowballed really fast.
So I do want to talk a little bit about you writing music.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, obviously you have a love of music and, you know, you really like DJing, but talk a little about the other ways that you were expressing yourself through music.
Yeah, that I would say when it comes to music, my first real love with music was that, because I was so influenced by the hip hop, rap.
Sure.
And especially during that time, the creative scene here in New Bedford, we really had like a real momentum going.
What year are you talking about?
So I really started writing and recording music my senior year of high school. So this is 2010, you know, for between 2010 and 14, 15 is where this is that era.
Some good years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I miss those years. But
you're writing. Okay.
Writing, recording, a couple of music videos here and there. So again, a good friend of mine, his name's Quinn. He was the kind of the first one kind of doing this. He had like all the equipment at his house because his dad was a big music guy too. Cool. 90s hip hop, very influenced by that kind of stuff, and that's where we started. And eventually, me and him kind of came a tandem where we just started doing music together. We eventually like, hey, let's just do this thing kind of as a group and put out a project together. And it was great, man. It was fun. To this day, you know, I'll look back and look at videos or like listen to the music, and you know, I'm proud of what we did. You know. So
you said music videos. Were you the one in front of the camera or filming?
Oh, we were in front of the camera.
Yeah, always.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you know, we would shoot music videos for a couple of our songs, and even me, like I have a couple of solo videos of like my songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they out right now? Still available?
Oh, they're there. They're on YouTube. You can look it up.
Okay.
The first video we did, so the group that I was in with him, we were called the Non-Believers. Very like deep meaning to it, like, and that's how everything was. Like everything had to have meaning. Like there was substance in even in the lyrical content or whatever it was.
Sure.
You know, it's totally different now. You know, with.
I like that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like super deep too.
Yeah.
And I appreciate other things that are. Yeah.
Which, you know, a combination of how the culture of making music changed at a certain time, but also like me really taking DJing more serious is what really led me, you know, also making money off of it, because, you know, it helped financially. That's where things kind of, you know, turned the other way.
So talking about names, so your group was called the Non-Believers, but what was your specific stage name?
Before it was Fresco, it was Be Fresh.
Be Fresh.
Which is a nickname that I really can't even pinpoint at when that became a thing, but it was somewhere between middle school and high school. That was just there. People would call me that. Obviously, my first name is Bryan, whatever, cool. You know, as you know, young kids were always into fashion, so it just kind of came together like that. But there was a certain point where I kind of wanted to rebrand and re-identify myself, and I also thought the name was kind of tacky and cheesy.
Sure.
You know, so one of my favorite artists still to this day and always was J. Cole. So eventually what I did was, because I used to spell it a certain way too, like money sign and all that. Hate talking about that, but it is what it is, right?
Hey,
but, like I literally at one point it changed it, you know, Be Fresh like B dot and Fresh like kind of like J. Cole. But eventually, you know, especially when I started DJing and stuff, you know, I wanted to rebrand. I wanted to make it something more simple, also more, I felt like, relatable or recognizable to any and everyone.
Okay.
Just took the Fresh and used the Spanish version of it. I guess it's from Spanish, but also in different languages too.
Really?
Yeah. That's,
okay. Yeah.
And it's like I you know, most of the time you get your nickname from other people.
Yeah.
I just created it, but it stuck. Like people started like to this day some people that only know me by that name.
Yeah,
and they don't know my real name, which is bizarre, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You kind of hit gold with that one.
Yeah. Luckily.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about your group, and but we both know Justin Calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when did you first encounter him?
Me and Justin go back to high school.
Okay, sure.
So
yeah, you both went to New Bedford High.
Yeah. He's a little bit younger than me, but
yeah.
you know, the big connecting piece too, which is funny to like a lot of these people in this, in that scene, and also obviously like doing the music with my buddy Quinn, you know, where he had, you know, high school, he had the stuff in his basement, right? Like we were all on the track team.
Oh, really?
So this is all stemming from like us fooling around that track, like beatboxing and freestyling.
Practice must have been lit. Yeah.
Every day, every day. Like we look forward to practice.
Yeah.
Because it was so, like the group of friends that we had, it was just so fun, right? But like I said, Justin's a little bit younger eventually, but he, you know, he was actually really good at track, better than I was. But that's where we met, and he was kind of in that circle too. You know what I mean? So I've known him since then.
Yeah.
And it all came full circle, you know, a few years ago when he started, you know, obviously after college and stuff like that. Came back around and he was like doing all this creative stuff, and it was like, of course, it made total sense that we worked together. Sure.
And then who reached out to who when you guys did finally connect?
He definitely reached out to me.
Yeah.
He definitely reached out to me. I think at first it just started out as like, you know, are you available to like DJ some events that I have ideas for?
Sure.
Kind of snowballed into, you know, what we kind of have going on now.
Yeah. And so what would you say you have going on now?
That's a great question. I feel like there's no like one word or like way that we can explain what it is, but what I will say is it's dope. Like it's it can be a community, it's a network.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It started out with one simple poetry event, but the way that he envisioned it is it being a networking event, you know, poetry, but also like a safe place for like people, you know, being around strangers, like, or you know, showcasing a talent that no one ever knew you had. Like I've seen it all there at this one kind of event that we've been doing now for 2 years now, I think, at least.
Wow.
Yeah, the first poetry night we did was the summer of 2022, I believe.
Sure.
So yeah, 2 years, and it's crazy to think it's been that long, but.
And it's a great event, you know, having been to one, like it's so much fun and such a safe place too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there were so many poets in the area, in the city, that like I never would have known, you know, unless you went to one of those events.
Like same with me, but I think creating that type of environment was like key, like from the very start. That was like the key, the focus there was like, this is what we want to create. It's what we curated from day one, and everything else kind of came together too.
And so do you think that came about, that idea to create the safe space, because there wasn't already one?
Yes and no, because I also I like to think that I'm tapped in and in tune with everything that goes on in New Bedford because we were talking before the interview started, like I'm so prideful, right? I love where I'm from, beside all the negative stuff that is attached to the city, New Bedford, like, but I do know that there is a lot that goes on that I don't have a chance to check out or see. So I don't want to take credit away from anyone who's even had maybe a poetry night or an open mic before we did it. But at least, you know, for the group of people that I know, the network of people that I know, I felt like we needed it.
Yeah.
So I was all in for it.
Totally agree. I mean, because not to put anyone down, but if you are not reaching the people and the people don't know, then I mean, like, what's the good of having the events? You know, it's hard to say they're successful. They're great to have, and especially an idea, but you guys really were able to reach so many people, and I feel like that's why it was really a success, along with just running a really smooth, successful, fun event in itself. And I just remember in Cafe Arpeggio that they used to have like open mics or
really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, back when
also the food is really good.
Yeah, really good. But I just had a couple older friends who either would rap or they would sing, and they would bring a mic, and but that was a while ago. You know, like you know, back when I was probably in middle school, and
oh wow,
yeah, and so I hadn't seen anything else like that. You know, like that kind of came and went, and then there was never. I don't want to say that was like a really big thing, but you know, seeing and going to an event like that really made me open my eyes to the creativity that New Bedford has.
Yeah.
You know? And so this is really wrapping up part one. Part two, we're going to talk about how COVID may have and definitely did have some effects on his career, as you brought up before. We're going to talk about some of the events that he has now and definitely what he has in store for the future. So please catch us on part two here with Wake Up New Bedford with DJ Fresco. Thanks so much.